producers have access. They can see it, how many viewers are there.
I'm trying to rewrite your story here, Siraj, because I'm trying to cut the budget in the back of my head.
It'd be looking to see where the genre is, and then by fitting into that genre, you would then appeal to a bigger audience.
In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to In the Room with Garvin and George again for this Friday's episode. And our special guest today is Siraj Zaidi, who runs the Indian Film Festival of Ireland, which is really quite exciting. But I know he's also been involved with a number of film productions that he's setting up himself, and he's also acted in quite a few sort of films. So hopefully we'll get to talk about some of that. Now, we had a little bit of preamble a short time ago, and Garvin felt we should include some of this because I was actually going through the process that we're going through, which is setting up the Film Production Academy. And with our Film Production Academy, we are developing it so that we will eventually get accreditation at master's degree level and take our students, usually 16 per cycle, through the experiential journey of making a feature film, which most of them don't really get a chance to do. But it also, our focus is on cinematographers, sound editors, but they also get a chance to do production management and various other jobs within a micro budget feature film. So they can then get the experience they need to get to go on to work in the industry. We're very much focused on the idea that this is a job. We're jobbing people. We want to work in the industry and earn a living and earn a good wage for what we're doing and building up the connections. And I think that's really part of the journey that we're on with yourself there, because like that, we've networked in the past. We've talked about stuff. We've done a few little projects, and so really what we're doing is we're trying to find part of the discussion is to get your views on the experience that you've had in the film industry in Ireland, and also connect us to India as well.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. And it was always good to connect with you. Just to let you know, I've just been off from a mega budget picture called Disenchanted, which was a Disney production shot in Dublin. So I was acting in it. So with Patrick Dempsey, I've got a little part, not a huge part, but significant enough to call myself in the movie. It was the first Hollywood film that I've done. And I was treated like a king. I mean, I had my own trailer. I had my own, usually they spoiled me like anything. It was I think it's a $10 million or $20 million film. I don't know. 18 million. Somebody said $18 million. Anyway.
Siraj, I'm going to stop you for a second and go, I love your starting pitch. Poor Patrick Dempsey was allowed to act with you, on a mega production. So it was a brilliant ego twist. I love that. I'm on a mega production, and Patrick Dempsey, I think he was a co-star or something, was on it with me. I had my trailer, and it's all about me. I love it. Great start.
My character was a fantastic name called Hot Tuna Steve, and Hot Tuna Steve was an interesting character. Anyway, just to go back into my madness of my work world, yes, annual production of the film festival that is happening in Dublin for the last 12 years. Last year, I had a virtual one, and this year again, I'm having a virtual one. So the website is there, www.indianfilmfestivalofireland.ie. And in the past, we have invited huge amount of people all the way from the Indian film industry, directors, stars, writers, all sorts of people, and it's a 4-day long weekend kind of festival, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It closes on Monday. So it had been a success story, let's put it this way. It sustained me for a while, although it's non-commercial. It's not making a mega bucks, but it's there as a film festival because I started as a frustrated person because Dublin Film Festival would not take any Indian films and categorize them that, look, I had a kind of discourse with the director who was American-driven, Hollywood-driven, and inviting all the American stars. And I said, look, you're calling it an Dublin International Film Festival, but you're not including, the significant industry. And I'm not talking about Bollywood here. My films that I'm interested are meaningful cinema, parallel cinema, new wave cinema, cinema that has been winning hearts in Berlin and Toronto and everywhere else in the world. Those are the films with gravity, stories that have meaningful cinema. That is what my films are all about. That the film that I would like to screen here. And I would like, so by token, she took one or two films, but then again, it wasn't a big enough presence for me to make a sense. So I said, to hell with it, I'm going to make my own film festival. And
Love
that's
it.
Where it started.
Love it. No, actually, I'm going to dive back in again and go, that's exactly how we're entering ourselves. We can queue up in other people's predefined systems and look and hope someone else showcases us.
Correct.
But the whole purpose is, if I'm the customer first, I want what I want, not what someone else does. Therefore, and therefore, if I'm the customer, there's loads of people like me. I represent the market. So therefore, there is a market for it because I'm there. There must be a bunch of people like me. Now, also, we're saying, you're creating a marketplace, a funnel for those to appreciate. You know there's a market for it. Now, you're touching a word in there, it's sustained you. It's not overly commercialized. It needs to be it needs to pay for itself to be there every year so it doesn't become a draw on your resources, because it has an audience, it has a marketplace, there's an industry. You want to bring the world to Ireland and then promote it back out to the world stage. That's what I'm hearing, and I love it. But we want to make it profitable. We want to make it attractive.
Indeed. Yeah. And if you look at my blurb on the first page of the landing page of the festival, you'll see on the website, I said all along in the last 12 years, the purpose of the festival is twofold. One, to promote Ireland as a location for our producers and directors to come over to shoot films. And we managed to get 2 films in the past 12 years, big budget pictures who came over here. And then secondly, to make our own films, my stories that I'm trying to make with the local talent, with the local crew, and mix and match with the director staffs, the creative crew back in India, and do it as a kind of like hybrid bridge films. That has been very successful in the UK. Baji on the Beach, My Beautiful Laundrette, And
I actually said I didn't even know I knew this. I actually mentioned My Beautiful Laundrette yesterday. I was going, how do we bring Bollywood to Kildare? How do we bring Bollywood to Finglas? No, I'm not saying Bollywood. I'm saying, you just said in our language, I want to attract investors to Ireland, to create jobs in Ireland, to create content out of Ireland that puts the Irish talent and country on the world stage to go, rinse, repeat. Hence, there you go. We're back to the laundrette again. Absolutely. We want to wash money through Ireland. Through content creation.
And you know what, Money, you mentioned that. I mean, I'm in the business, so I know inside out how this financial jigsaw get together. Again, as you quite rightly said, Garvin, with the other producers, when I talk to the old friends, no names dropping, but I know everybody.
Go on. We love name dropping. Drop away.
No, I mean, as I said, guys up in Ardmore, James Flynn, Morgan O'Sullivan, all of them, they know me, my work. They are driven by the American productions. They bring what I call it, a cooked cake from America, wash it through the Section 481 machine, and come out with the 15% or 20% in their pocket, and rest goes into the production. So it's a recycling thing, because we have a sitting 15 million mega budget kind of ceiling is sitting there. Yeah. Last budget, I think I saw that is up to the 15 million. You don't need to do any but I mean, this film is bigger than that, but up to 15 million you can bring, but the condition is that it has to be pre-sold. It has to have distribution attached. In other words, the investors want to only go in as a last in, first out. Last in, first out is a difficult thing for a new producer.
Now, there's something we've just recorded a show earlier today now for next week or the week after, and you've just literally quoted from it. I was asked, I think what the show, I think the person in question, Carl King, was working on a production, Joyrider. It's out of Kerry at the moment. I think it might be around the 5 million mark. And he said, I'm a newbie to the industry, so I'm just trying to understand, right, 5 million. Somebody invested 5 million. What did he invest in? And he says they invested in a good story with attached A-lister producer, director, star, and also pre-distribution and territory. Now, that investor nearly put those preconditions in. You get my money because I understand A-lister draw, and you've got an award in the background, you've won a BAFTA, you won something, if you won something, that's my precondition, hello. Now, that immediately said, I will not go into that film as a story on its own. Without that, we could have done it for 3 million. The budget became bigger based on the draw of an A-lister, not the skill set, not necessarily the talent, a promise of a repeat delivery of something that happened in the past and it was delivered on before. That does not guarantee a paying audience tomorrow or today in my book. It's your hope and history repeats. Now, at the same time, if you want to attract new money, let's say without those conditions. So now you're going, we would love to be promoting new producers, new directors, new talent, C-listers, great storyline, and attract investors to this micro-budget market, make it simple for them to understand, and get their money back. Not get a break even 5%, anything. They need to know when they're getting their return, where they're getting their return, what they're investing in, what the upside is, and they're nearly like a venture capitalist. They want a 10x. They're being sold Blair Witch all over the place, and they've never been delivered it. So they don't come back to the market. So there's money there, lots of money, negative inflation, negative interest rates, or it wants a home. It wants to invest. It will invest in film. It's new money to invest in new stories, new content. But we have the pre-sale aspect is a very hard precondition of an unproven something.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is exactly where I've been in doldrum for 15 years. I have a fantastic story that I've written 9th draft of the feature film of a girl called Savita Hallapannawar, who...
Oh, you got to change the name. So the problem with the thing is that it's a long multi-hyphenate name. If you change that, we get you 2 million in the morning.
I'm talking about the actual story. The name of the film is called Savita. Now, Savita is a story that changed Ireland. You know, it's the story of one Indian girl who dies here, denied abortion because whatever reason. So I bought the rights of the book that was being written by Kitty Holland, and I did 9 years on that. Next year is an anniversary of Savita coming up, 10 years now. Now, I have a BAI. There's a soft money there, Garvin, as well. If you know the soft money, apart from the commercial hardcore venture capitalist.
Well, you've actually got hard. Most people are trying to find the soft money in reverse. And they can't get the soft money because the soft money wants a proven something.
That's exactly the point. The soft money is the film screen, Irish screen money, which is about 10% to 12%. And then you have BAI money. BAI money could be up to about 600,000, 800,000, about $1 million. And then you top up with the Section 481 money, which is about net 32% now, I've been told. So 30, you're just trying to get 32, 12%, and then you come up with all up to about 70, 80%. And then you go to the financial institution and say, look, guys, can you cash flow it? I have 80% guaranteed here. So there is a way of skinning the cat. I mean, a lot of people are doing many different ways.
Sarij, you're in my language. You must have been an accountant in the background. George is sitting quiet here because I keep on trying not to be the accountant. But what I'm now loving is the game in film business to begin is a game of financial engineering. It's a game of investor return understanding. Money doesn't care what your story is. We've said this before. It wants to know the story of how much I'm going to get back and how fast. And it needs to hear money. Money talks to money. Money wants to know when money gets more money back. It wants to multiply itself. Now, it's game of whether we wind farm or film or indie production or macro is how much of my money, you're tying it for how long, what's the break-even term, what's my upside potential, what's the guarantee, what's the capital, what's the risk, what capital of mine is at risk.
Okay.
And that's really it. Then you're going,
Yeah. So look at the income aspect of that. If you don't have a pre-sale, at least if you are banking on the cinema aspect of the project, then you have a 32 county basis.
My camera just stopped recording and turned itself off.
Oh, did it?
Oh, George, you're going to kill me.
What's wrong?
You're going to kill me. I wasn't recording at all, and it turned itself off. So there's no me in this show to date, right?
Now you're
Garvin, just start recording, because basically what we can do is we can turn you into the animation again.
Yes, so good stuff. I wasn't talking for too long. I'm back in. Sorry, Siraj. The great thing is, I want to just hone in here, because it's coming back to the last three shows. It's all about the money, honey. Now, when we have that. Yeah. It's about, I've attracted it with my story. They believe in me. They believe in that my story, if made with the right talent and crew, produced in the right order at this cost, has a market that will pay to see it and give that investor the returns plus some he's expecting, so he gives me his money again. That's the game.
So you got to identify where the sources of income is. Once you made a movie, you spend couple of million, say for instance, as a modest budget, 2.5 million quid, you spend it on the production, you pay the stars, you pay the crew and everything. Now, what is the first payment will come from where? And before you start shooting, actually the security from the state broadcaster will give you a guarantee that 2 years down the line or a year down the line, I will broadcast it, and there's a 3-picture deal or 4-picture deal, RTE, Virgin Media, whatever. So the first check will come from the local broadcaster. Then before that, I'm dealing with the cinemas now because of the film festival. I'm dealing with the Dundrum Cinema, the owner of the Dundrum Cinema, Graham Sperling, and the likes of Omniplex guys all over the place. I have dealt with the box office language. If you see the calculation from the box office, is another check that you're going to get into your account. When the movie is in the cinema, Hunters comes in, you hype up 100,000 on marketing and PR exercise. You bought the billboard and everything, and then attracted the punters into the cinema to pay the €10 or whatever.
Now, I'm going to stop you, Siraj, because the problem what we were having and our understanding of finances was we were being sold 1 million users paying a tenner, when it turns out your cut of the tenner could have been 50 cents. And what we actually need to get back of 3 million, if we spend 3 million and the distributor is getting half, and we don't have an exact figure, because they're promising someone might turn up and watch. We don't know a pandemic is going to stop something.
Well, can I just ask something?
Money?
I just want to come back there.
Would we need back to get that 3 million back plus the return?
So but are you becoming the distributor in that scenario, Siraj? Are you, because in that sense, or do you have to get a distributor to get into the cinema?
No, you don't have to go to distributors. See, for the producers, producers are allowed to keep their home territory, as they call it. The home territory is Ireland and the UK. Both we consider it as a home territory. Yeah. Now, in the Brexit terms, I don't know how it would pan out, because I'm talking about pre-Brexit language now, that home territory used to be UK and Ireland. That is a producer's territory. Before you go to Europe, before you go to North America, before you go to Australia and Asia, Middle East, if you open the film in Dubai Film Festival and a buyer comes in, you invite the buyer from Mumbai, fly them in, put them in a hotel and say, look, guys, there's my movie in Dubai Film Festival. And the deals are done there. So that's another Asian market. So you divide the globe in that section.
Now, I heard there's a marketing budget. I just flew someone from A to B, put them up in the hotel with no guarantee a deal being done. Go do again. What was my budget for marketing and distribution to have potentially 10 no's in a row?
So what you do is in the budget, you do the way Hollywood does that. You have, say, for instance, 1.8 million, the actual production cost, and you budget it 2.5. So you're actually budgeting it for that. Marketing, sales, or all of that.
An awful lot of people are leaving out the total marketing, sales, and distribution budget and just trying to raise production.
Not at all. Not the biggest mistake. I have a personal experience with Cathal Black's beautiful film called Korea. I don't know, you remember that film?
Yes. We were talking to Cathal Black not so long ago, yeah.
Cathal, myself, we bang our heads in Cannes, and Cathal had no clue about how to sell that picture. It was made on the film board's taxpayers' money. And I said, Cathal, what's your marketing plan? He said, I haven't a clue. I made a movie. And I spent all the budget, what I've been given into the making of the film. So I said, look, guys, making is only one aspect of that. Yes. Selling is another aspect of that. You got to budget it for the sales of the movie. If you don't sell it, you're not making for yourself.
And it's still a marketing. And so the gas thing is, even with a marketing budget, there's no guarantee of sales.
There's no guarantee. So for that, you get your likes of the OTT platform. The Amazon, the Netflix are the new language. They are buying it. They knew. I mean, I'm watching every night a single film coming out from my industry. And every night they're uploaded 4 or 5 films. So they have a streamline now. They are financing it before or during the production. So while you're in the production, you send the rushes, you send the raw stuff and say, look, guys, this is in the making. It'll be ready. The answer print will be ready by X number date. What is signing signing on the dotted line, and give us some sort of a guarantee that you're buying it for X amount. So
the gas thing is, Siraj, I'm hearing an awful lot of great stuff now because you're in the business of film. You're in the business of raising the finance, understanding sales and marketing as being the important drivers. Customer is king, and then we get to make our passion. We're given the permission and the wherewithal to make the story they want to see because they want to buy it. So it's actually in reverse order. Most production companies that we're coming across are wrapping themselves in this naming convention, which effectively is just wrapping their functional job of production around themselves so they can deliver service and use up wage budget. They are they're assuming someone else is raising finance, someone else is actually going to sales and market, where actually that's why the investor is being burnt on a regular basis in the indie production area and will not be burnt twice and thrice. You will not get my money a second time.
Just a quick question here, Siraj. You're obviously dealing with the cinemas now, and obviously in the last 5 to 10 years, cinemas have gone from celluloid, where you would have had maybe a 2-week showing in a cinema, to now digital, which could actually restrict that down to 1 day. Does that impact your marketing plan? Because of the way the cinema can actually have it going in and out, because they haven't got such a big investment in the showing of that film. Obviously, it costs about £2,000 to get a reel of film in there. They'd want to get their money back on the £2,000. But now it's digital. Does that reduce those costs?
It does indeed. It does indeed. So right from the production aspect, you don't need a huge, big monster cameras. You can shoot it in DSLR, small red cameras. So the production cost is reduced, is sliced really down. So therefore, you have a less, unless it's a massive films like Disney or whatever, a Hollywood thing, which they waste money. My character was a tiny character. They had 4 sets of the costumes of one scene. Yeah. I did not even open the packs of the 3 other sets of costume. Gone wasted. The other scene, which was also so the waste of the money,
someone else's money. So
what about at the other end of it, when the film's actually finished, and because you mentioned a copy of the rushes that could be sent to them, that's now digital as well. But when the film's actually finished now, it's obviously delivered as a digital package, not as a film package. And one of the things I had heard was that quite often a cinema can actually show a film one night, and if it doesn't, or over a weekend, if it doesn't have the audience coming in, it can actually just quickly take it out and put something else in that it knows will generate an income. Whereas when it was on film and actually ended up as a big can of film going into the cinema, because the cinema had to invest £2,000 for that particular, they wanted to get their £2,000 back. But I'm just saying, in your marketing strategy, does that impact the way you now have to deal with the cinemas, because they can take it in one night, show it, and then drop it? Or do you come up with a deal that tries to keep your film in the cinema for a longer period of time?
I suppose what is happening now in the post-pandemic 2 years, cinemas are shut down, and there were no films. Nobody was going in to buy the film, to buy the ticket. So obviously, cinema has hit it badly, big time. So now everything is online. I'm not paying rent to the cinema to hire the cinema to show my films. What I'm saying is, the cinemas used to hire to get the money from the producers to show the films. They said, okay, pay me the rent of the 5 shows or 10 shows, whatever you want. It's a 14-show deal. Will pay me the minimum guarantee MGs of that thing, and if over and above, the punters will pay. Will split it 70-30, 60-40, or whatever. But I want my wages for the staff, for the front staff, the electricity, the projectionist, all of that. It's your film. You covered that. So all of that need to be taken into an account when you're releasing in the cinema. So life is a little bit better in a sense that you're releasing on the home computers, on high phone, on the home technology. People are watching short films now being made more because 20 minutes, half an hour film is easy.
Much more consumable, yeah.
Consumable than to film is a 2-hour film. But people who are in the movie and they really want to watch a good film, they will sit on the computer. They will sit at home computer, home studios. People have made home cinemas with larger screen and all that, and so therefore they're watching on digitally, and so therefore, who is projecting digitally? Who's releasing it? So you could release yourself on your own YouTube channel. Now your YouTube channel can attract the commercial money, the advertising money. How the distributors are being eliminated from the process is because the producers have becoming more proactive on the digital platform. And this is the only way that you can get sponsorships as well and say, look, guys, I'm releasing that film. Your ad will go in there. So you dress up the YouTube release with 10 different ads. And all of those people will pay you X amount, whether they're big or small. If the insurance company is there, they will pay the insurance, a decent money. So there are ways of actually making income while you're actually distributing digitally. A, B, Netflix, Amazon are paying cash. They are flush with cash, and they need money.
Actually, there's a curiosity now because I'm not informed. What would you expect per view as a revenue per view to you from an Amazon view?
I mean, you're happy to get even a 50 cent or 10 cent, 20 cent.
No, I'm saying that is 10 to 50 cent is a 400% differential on break-even payback. 10 is not. I need 5 views for 1 view in terms of multi-million views to get 3 million quid back. So if I'm only got Amazon views, then £2 million budget needs to be getting me 20 million views to break even. So this is where a game of maths starts to kick in, going, what is the guaranteed something? What language am I pitching to my investors? I expect 20 million views when I haven't got 50 views off my YouTube channel with 4 subscribers in the past.
Okay, so there's a software program which actually will tell you how many viewers are there, and you negotiate with the likes of Amazon and the Netflix and tell them that, look, I want a piece of software that you have and a daily report, because what we call it a daily report for producers, that today I have had 500 hits worldwide.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will have 700 hits, maybe. So that's how it stays on the platform for a month. And then it's been taken off, as George said, that if it falls below those hits, and that's a software program easily, there's a company in Netherlands actually who specializes in creating those software programs. So producers have access, they can see it, how many viewers are there. And per view, you can then calculate that, yes, film. And the most successful aspect of that is the terrestrial channels as well. Yeah. The terrestrial channel, the satellite channel, the skies, all of them have got their own subscriber viewers. If I've subscribed to the Sky, I'm paying it 70 quid every month anyway. So those are the streams, and they will buy it and they will pay you for that. Look, so while you're actually making it, you at the same time, you're selling it to the different options of the movies. The dinosaurs of the industry, the cinema, the actual multiplexes, they are the dinosaurs who are dying breed now under pandemic. This is what
and so are the broadcasters as well, because their model is actually breaking down. I think the other thing that is quite important, that because we did mention YouTube, but there's actually two sides to YouTube. There's one of the sides is the YouTube where anybody can upload stuff, but that's not a commercial venture. The other side is that commercial films are paid for by the streamers, or the streamers can sign up for premium. There's a premium package that they can sign up for, and then there's a percentage of that that people get. And I think also with Amazon and Netflix, because there is a subscriber base, what happens is that they buy a license. They buy a license that allows them to show that film for a period of time, and after that sort of license runs out, they either renew it or they let that film go. So there are mechanisms for which the filmmakers can generate more of an income.
I'm going to jump back in because the strange thing is, sorry, George, I'm going, where's Bollywood in all of this? This could be anyone we're talking to. The great thing, what's interesting, we need to bring it back and put a flavour on, I think, because what it says is no matter the film, it's going to find at a certain level, without money, your own money, and you need to be someone else's, and you have to attract money to make it. Even if you had the money, the talent might not be there, the worker might not be there to be available given the other demand on their resources in the industry, because the big boys pay a bigger bang for buck. But now, what I heard at the beginning of this conversation was you have your passion project. You have some soft money with it. You bought the rights to X, Y, and Z. There's a bunch of people out there that do believe in you. And okay, I think what might have upset in the meantime was 2 years of we know what, where, and when, and we won't talk about that anymore. But that aside, you're going, this film, the one you just mentioned, I can't even pronounce the girl's name. What is stopping that now? What's the missing piece that brings that to market, that attracts that talent, that launches it to these marketplaces of which you know all the above and are confident you can bring a delivery to an investor?
Okay. So it's an application process. It kicks into the actual process. The big production companies I need a co-producer who can actually give me the gap money, as I call it. If I have a gap money, I can go back to the software BAI, the Irish Film Screen, and with the bit of a gap money with me. And then they would say, okay, if that you have, you're ready to roll.
Yeah. We're back to the same question. The brilliant thing here is no matter where we've gone the last 10 weeks talking to anybody, we're looking for a pregnant chicken. We've chicken and eggs all over the shop. Everyone wants the other person to bring the money to make their money be real. Everyone has to show their cards at the exact same time. Everyone else is hoping the other person is going to solve the missing piece, but no one wants to show their cards first. And neither exists without the other existing, which is the pain in the marketplace I can currently see.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'll give you the example how Noel Pearson got for My Left Foot the first check. He went around the same thing. Jim Sheridan never directed the picture before. And that's all the factors kicks in there. You have to have a name director. Jim Sheridan was a theater director working in New York. He never had that experience of nobody will put money into him. So what Noel Pearson did, Noel Pearson went to Wheelchair Association of Ireland. And he got first 200,000 from Wheelchair Association. It's a movie about a crippled guy on a wheelchair.
I was going to say that's left foot thinking. It's left field thinking. But in this case, it was left foot thinking. Very good.
And 200,000, he returned it back, 400,000, and bought more wheelchairs from the profit of the film when it won the 11 Oscars. So first check, to answer your question, Garvin, is that the first money could be from any creative thinker. I mean, at the moment, that's what it is. And somebody has to take a chance on you and said, okay, I believe you enough on the basis of the script, on the basis of the subject matter. I mean, here's a subject matter who's changed the law of this country. Eighth Amendment, my movie starts with the text written on the screen, what Eighth Amendment was all about, how women were being suffering and all that. And now after the death of this woman, Eighth Amendment is gone. So
no,
it's
beautiful.
It's powerful.
You're talking about, and this is a language again. Your first customer is an investor profile. Your first customer is not an investor currently investing in film. Your first customer there is someone that wants to hear that story told.
Exactly.
Your first, and they like the American, they like changing laws. It could be the Women's Association of, it could be the mental health issue, blah. What you're actually delivering to them is a PR story of social media, of seen to be sponsoring this story being made.
Correct. Absolutely. Every girl would like to see how Savita died. Why Savita died. If she would have been given in a right time, a quick abortion, she would have been alive and would have been a mother of 2-3 other children by now. Why? Because every young woman is a dilemma for every pregnant woman to have a unwanted pregnancy to be terminated. In her case, it was not unwanted. It was planned pregnancy, but complicated pregnancy. It got medically complicated and she got sucked into septicemia and died in that. So what I've done is I have actually put the flavor of Bollywood. The whole glossy wedding aspect is taking place back in India, where they both got married. They landed in Dublin, have a happy life, a settling in period in Dublin, exploring Dublin. For a tourism market point of view, everybody's watching. And I've taken this couple from the Halfpenny Bridge right up to different aspect of Dublin. And then I've gone into the crisis of the actual pregnancy. When the pregnancy crisis happens, the movie shifts in Galway. And then we have a Galway hospital scene in ER elements kicks in of the medical aspect. And then the third act, parallel to that, we have these politicians talking shite in the Dáil about and about the legislation, what they're going to do about it. And then the third layer is also I've got priests and I've got the bishops and all of those guys who are worried about it, that, oh, what happened if the Eighth Amendment will be gone? What is the sacrament?
I'm going to jump in for a second and be terrible. I know it's a great story. I'm not questioning it in that context, but there's a little bit of an issue out there. No, actually, you have an Indian audience and you have an Irish audience. But what does the rest... If ours is an international audience, not interested in local politics, then that doesn't resonate with them.
It's a common story, Garvin. In Germany, German girls goes to
so there is some similarity of something similar going on in different countries.
I've done my research on that.
And actually, America would probably have the same sort of thing with
But in Germany, they're going to Poland, and Polish doctors are performing the abortion from Poland, Polish girls going to Germany and getting it, abortion there.
So there is a world, that's the strange thing, you've just touched on it. There's a world market, it's just not Ireland, England. There's something similar. It doesn't matter if it's Irish politics, there's an equivalent again. No, actually, I'm going to swing back a second and go, there's a missing, because I hate being the accountant. There's a missing co-production company, there's a missing figure. What makes your dream have the chance of going on the journey of being first of all made to be then get to be seen? Because the journey of money is, it has to be made to be seen. So therefore, to be seen, someone to see it, there's a customer. But the first customer is investor. What is the figure you are now asking for to show an example? Because are you in indie micro production? Is your budget totally 3 million? What level are you pitched at? And what's the missing money?
Okay, the 8th draft, which I have here, I'll show you the copy of that in front of me right now. I budgeted for 2.8 because it's the international element that a shooting has to be done in India as well for 10 days. There's a schedule over there, 10-day schedule for whole wedding, glossy big wedding. And then we come back.
There's your problem. There's $1 million we can get rid of in the morning because that's lots of cast and crew in the foreign country. Can we do that in Finglas? Can we do it in Marquee in the rain?
We can. The creative producers will give me the solution for that. You don't have to go to that. I mean, you could be shifted back to anywhere. We could do it to shoot it in London. In fact, it's not that problem. There's a huge Asian community over there. One could revise the script in that way. Yes. To answer your question, if I have 500,000 tomorrow, I will announce the production first day of principal photography in few weeks' time.
I'd have to stop you and go, You say it, you have to be in a position to finance end to end, including marketing and distribution, or wherever it is. The figure that has to be there to be able to be invested needs to be the 100%, including the financing of all tax breaks and the timing of soft money to plug into the full schedule of process, pre and post production and marketing. The problem I've encountered with everyone I've talked to in the industry as an accountant was they got the first bit of money, went off and spent it, ran out and couldn't get the next piece.
No. You don't start the shoot. You don't start the pre-production prep until you have the full budget aligned up.
Yes, right. We're okay again.
No. That's amateur. And professionals don't do that way. You got to have the full money in the escrow account.
Yes.
You don't touch it until you are ready to roll the camera. When you know the schedule of 6-week shoot, 14 weeks post-production, and 10 weeks of marketing. All of that is going to cost you Y, X, Y, and Z. And I have all that in the bank. It'll be spent in such and such manner. You don't need to spend, all of that in one day. So it's done out, and then you pay. By the time it gets released or whatever it gets completed, the income start coming in there from there, because the sales aspects kicks in there, because you are already, while you're making, you're selling it. Yeah. And therefore you are talking to the broadcasters, you're talking to here we will get, for this particular project, we will get RTE to pay, TG Kahar to pay, or to Virgin Media to pay. Because
I'm going to stop you, because I'm honing into the language. We will get a conditional future-proof something. There is no guarantee they'll say yes.
No, you have
to have gosh to get the investor money, because if you don't have that in signatures, that's a hope, and it might be hedged, but it needs to be signed off with a figure of what you're getting, a point of measure of reaching a benchmark.
So that hinges upon deliverable, as in our business, we call it deliverable. And the deliverable has to be copper fasted, airtight, watertight, and they would be able to see it through the prism of their own judgment that this guy who's making this production company are capable of having deliverable on time and everything. So therefore, I will put my money now before they start shooting. So when they're 100%,
that's interesting. That's the pre-sell. It's a pre-sell.
It's a pre-sell
access to it based on deliverables, key deliverables.
That's exactly it.
With 10 days of shooting in India, is there a prospect of an Indian co-producer coming in?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm working on right now as we speak. I've sent the script to 2 different people. There are production houses over there, because I'm giving them back in return their own territory. They said, the guys, recoup it from your own. I don't want any penny back from your territory. You put.
No, I'm going to stop you right there. And you just handed 6 billion paying viewers on the basis of we don't know what figure. No. Don't be pitching what the accountant will be doing, and value what it is, the cost of what's been given away. Because if you believe in the success of what you just said, their cost of purchase of 100 grand worth of 10 days of something could have had the biggest revenue stream you just discounted yourself for. Most people don't know what the value cost relationship return is. It needs to be figured out and factored in beforehand.
That's negotiable. Obviously, it's negotiable. And I agree with you totally. But because beggars can't be choosers in that sense, because you need that money in order to spend that over there, in order to make up.
Well, you don't need that money, Siraj, if it's happening in Finglas West. So therefore, you didn't lose the Indian audience on the back of doing 3 days of shooting. So the thing is, what we have to do is look at the production schedule, look at the ass of task and activity, look what the shot needs to be, where it can be, what the budget is for, what you're giving away for that, what is the money you need from your investor not to need that in the first place, and give a better break-even return to your current investors.
Yeah, it can happen. Obviously, there are certain things where you don't, as a director, I want to direct the picture. Your vision is to get, as I said, as real as possible for the true to the script.
Yes.
And there are bangers, headbanging going on between the finance people and the creative directors and the directors. And they said, look, you can't spend this. I said, no, I can't, because
We'll
won't
find
give
a
me
happy
that
medium, but that's it. It has to be, it's
Yeah.
a Rolls Royce or a Lada. If you've only got the couple of quid in the bank, you're driving the Lada, mate. You can Rolls Royce all you like, but that's an aspiration.
That's an aspect.
Yeah.
No, I mean, as I said, there
There are means and ways. There are means and ways.
There are means and ways to do that. And if local producers would come along and said, look, I want, yes, I like the story very much. I mean, it's a local story of a local girl who died, and it was a big news here 10 years ago when it happened. Fine. It is, linked with Ireland, may not have a huge impact. And it's not a typical Bollywood song and dance movie either. So the content are much more strong, serious content rather than happy-go-lucky Bollywood dancing.
Well, the question then is, do we need to be people subliminally realizing that they don't want to go into a manic depressive where we already know the end game before we walk in the door? I wouldn't even go see the film. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be your audience, because I'll be going, I would go for the singing and the dancing with the wife if she made me, but I certainly wouldn't be going for the factual, the hardcore, there's mental health issues and there's all that mixed in it.
But there would still be an audience base, though, that would want to.
There is an audience.
Yeah. And I think
you could actually then get a second audience through the body. As you said, if there's enough of this, what's that? Laundrette, my dirty laundrette, wherever the thing is, there's an audience that can be twice the audience, 3 times the audience.
Yeah, there has been recently indications that even though the so-called Bollywood way of working is possibly going to phase out, it may recycle again, like the musicals of the 50s in America and stuff, because there is an indication that Bollywood is also realizing that genre type movies is also important to their audience because they will watch them as well. So one of the things is there's a potential that you could see yours as it'd be looking to see where the genre is, and then by fitting into that genre, you would then appeal to a bigger audience.
Absolutely.
Actually, sorry, Siraj. At the moment, if I just stood back, and my understanding what the film is at the moment is a mental health, political, legal, such and such. I would not see it being a Bollywood in my generalism of a Bollywood. I'm expecting an awful lot of people in flashy clothes and dancing to appear with lots of muscles and half clad, doing it's the sensationalism and commercialism of the swords, the hats, the dancing, the singing. But if that's this is a hardcore story that just happens to have an Indian aspect to it.
Yeah.
Sure. No, but not only mental aspect of it. It's a very jolly good film, a jolly film in the sense that like the way I written it. When the wedding is taking place, I have an Irish 70s band flown in from Ireland to India, and they're playing all the hit songs, wedding songs in this wedding back in India. Now that is novel because your man was living here before and he knew his friends, an Irish friend. He said, look, I want to give you the biggest present by bringing this wedding band. Now, the wedding band in Ireland is huge, 70s, 60s, 80s. They play in the weddings. That's where guys are dancing. That's where the whole wedding six-month fatten up. That's where the dancing element comes along. And you have
that's where the budget gets out of control.
Not really. No, that's what I'm saying.
Are they all CGI Muppets and puppets? That if ever not.
Well, actually, one of the things that's quite interesting about that is that what's quite nice there is it doesn't have to be the traditional musical Bollywood type thing, but the fact that it's got that element echoes those ideas within it, which I think becomes quite interesting. But also one of the things that I find fascinating, having been in Birmingham, was the conversations I had with lots of Indians there who were saying how much the connection that the family values fitted into what was going on in Ireland. And they basically just said, all we have to do is turn the Irish flag around, and there you've got the Indian flag. There's an amazing conversation there.
I'm trying to rewrite your story here, Siraj, because I'm trying to cut the budget in the back of my head. And what I've done is I've actually got, we're bringing India to wherever the wedding is in Ireland. So they come over here, but they bring the band, and the Irish bunch had their own band. And what we have is the battle of the bands of Celtic meets Bollywood band battle.
But don't forget, one of the things that's also very important is that Ireland can actually represent other countries. I've been watching. I've been getting into motorbikes again, and I've been watching all these renovations of motorbikes. I'm looking at Royal Enfields specifically, which are made now in India. And what's really fascinating is that some of these guys over there had basically taken some wrecks off the roads and turned them into what looked like brand new bikes. And I kind of go, oh my God, that's amazing. Now, my mum was watching it, right? She was watching the same show, and she suddenly went, oh my God, look at those houses. They're amazing. We're told that India is so impoverished and it's run down. And she's going, those roads look great. And look at those houses. You couldn't afford one of those houses over here. And suddenly, all of a sudden, through one of these little video, and apart from the fact they were buying all the parts, which I know if we bought them here would cost thousands of pounds, you were suddenly seeing that there was a culture that we're not aware of because of what we've been told. Correct. That you could suddenly blow our minds out and sort of say, look, this is you've never seen this India before, but you could recreate some of those things here as well, and they would still work.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that. I mean, the movie which I bought here from India, and Gavin, you must log on to the YouTube and see those sequence called Ekta Tiger, EAK. Ek means one. There was a tha means there was a tiger, and it's nothing to do with Celtic tiger. And this is the movie which I bought here. Now, the creative producers put Camogie in Trinity College, and there is a sequence, the Bollywood song sequence, dance sequence, the Bollywood star dancing in the square, the front square of Trinity College, and the Camogie sequence is being played in the part of that song sequence. Then you move to Grafton Street and all that. So the typical songs and dance element has been incorporated. They spent something like €1.5 million here while filming, and then they moved to, it was a big budget, $7.5 million movie. They moved to Istanbul, and then they moved to Cuba, and then returned back to India. It was a kind of like a James Bond type of film. And I managed to get the fraction of that here, 2.5 months of shoot. Crew and stars were staying in Shelburne Hotel. Biggest spent happened. And it was a big success. At the back of my festival, at the platform, they saw, they were supposed to be shooting in Oxford. And I said, no, guys, come over and shoot it in Dublin. Yeah. Come in Dublin, where we have a Trinity College. So there are always creative ways of,
I'm going to shoot you again, Siraj, because I know there's a hostel around the corner from the Shelburne, and you've got cast and crew in 5-star Dublin at the height of the Celtic Tiger, and you're going, when they could have been 10 quid backpacking around the corner, and that money for my investor break even an awful lot better. It's easy to spend money, but it's to get it back is the problem.
The back of the problem. That money came from Yash Raj Production, the biggest studio in Bollywood.
Well, it's okay. It's someone else's money. Someone else's problem and someone else's money. I can spend that all day long.
See, this is the thing. A studio, when you're dealing with the studio back in India as well as in Hollywood, they're all principles are the same. When the studios get involved, they have their own standard. There's stars.
That's it.
There stars needed bombsets and all that. They had a big star like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Salman Khan came. He didn't bother to meet Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, who was the Minister of Tourism at the time, invited him for lunch, and he didn't turn up. He said, fuck off. I'm not interested in politicians. I'm here to do my movie. Yeah. And Leo took it as an offense. He said, we have given you a huge this, that, the other. He said, but for the star, they are so big in their head, they are concentrating on that. He said, why would I go and eat lunch with the Irish politician? What's got to do with that? Yeah. But there was a PR exercise. What I'm saying is there's a complexities of all production.
No, I say actually, Siraj, I think the great thing here is you're working you're in the industry, you're working at all levels of it. But when you drop out of it for a second and go, you're your own micro industry, when you have your own gig, you want to get done. And that bit then becomes, doesn't matter about the rest of it, because it's their asking their money. That all aside, it's your money now. Not them. You've to raise your budget. You've to negotiate that with your cast and crew and team to deliver on your story. You will be much, much more protective of that money to get the value out of it.
Definitely. I agree with you totally. And I would go again over the script and see where and how we can. In fact, one cameraman at the moment is in London shooting a Bollywood film with a studio picture. I've given the script to him last week. He's reading it. and he's reading it with the view. Say, for instance, I'll give you the example of that. There's one sequence after you read in that opening sequence. The movie opens with a crowd of people at the back of the paper canister church, the shouting matches going on, pro-life and pro-choice people. We have 3,000 members of extras, dolly cranes, all of them, Gardi moving in there, and the shouting match is going on between the two groups of pro-life, pro-choice people. That exactly happened. Now, imagine that scene, which I've...
That's 300 grand and 100 quid a day for extras at the moment.
Exactly, that's a big scene. But that's the only big scene when the movie opens up with.
It's already gone. We're going to CGI those heads in there. You do not have 300 grand of your budget to have a little surf flyover of Pimlico in a crowd. That's madness with indie budget production figures.
No, but CGI, you can do CGI on that too. I mean, with the 200 people or 500, 50 people, you can do it. Certainly like that. It doesn't have to be 3,000 people shouting matches going on.
What's your budget there? For a laugh, Siraj, you put in a figure for that opening scene. What was your budget you penciled in on that one?
See, in terms of page, you are shooting a minute a page.
No, you're shooting task activity, job type, pay rate on a day.
Yes.
But what did you put in for the budget for that day?
For that, that's what I'm saying, that depending on how you scale it down, the day is a minute a page to, and if that...
No, I'm just going to say people. You're going to go, I have 100 people minimum or 1,000 people minimum at 100 quid as an extra fee at minimum wage. How many people am I paying for that one cameraman to sort of look at? Because they have to be there, they have to be fed, they have to be accommodated, you have to have security guard people around them. Just for that one shot, that's where the game really starts.
Correct.
Because the casting bill alone can be for 100 or 1,000 people, depending on whether the difference between 900 people is done in CGI, that moves the CGI budget. But at the minimum in your mindset, based on your paying, what are you willing to pay for a number of people to turn up on that day out of your back pocket?
I haven't worked out yet, to be honest with you.
That's all you ever have to do in your entire movie to understand, are you a million budget, a 5 million budget, or 10 million budget? Because in the absence of that, we don't actually know the size of the budget.
Correct. I mean, once you're writing it as a movie with the full Monty. Now, when you're actually writing it as a full Monty, you don't think in terms of the actual euros each page and how much euros are going on each page, because your mind is on the artistic side, your mind is on the actual quality of the story, the dialogue, the lines, the scene, the conversation, and the actual effect of that, because it is interconnecting thing. It's like a chain reaction.
Well, we've no problem pitching that to Bollywood and letting them pay 20 million to sort that out, to see it visioned that way, because the budget's there. But you have to write in the fact that no one commissioned it, that it's your passion project, that you've to raise the finance. Are you raising 1, 3 or 10 million quid?
I think I'll be happy to even do it it's budgeted for 2.8 to 3 million quid, but I'll be happy to make it for 1.5. Let's say 50%, I can slash it. Because I don't want to lose them any more time. Next year is the anniversary coming up to 2020, 10 years gone already on the story, and it's losing every day. So yes, by my cast is not costing me a huge amount of money. They're not big stars. I'm happy to put them in a B&B rather than in Shelburne and Conrad. They'll be happy to stay in even likes of Clayton, and an average kind of thing. And cars, local transportation, all of that is possible. All of that is possible because we have a very mature industry now. Mm-hmm. I have a very good producer friend of mine, Edwina Falcon, who turned around films for 600,000 for less than £1 million. Edwina is an experienced producer. She made movies and shot in Malta, shot in America, everywhere. So Edwina is going to be my line producer. So I'm actually working with heads of the HODs who know in their minimum sort of like value how much maximum they can actually give you in terms of quality of the film, not compromising.
So actually what you're really saying is you have a great story and you have a great team that want to be paid a day rate, The bits that are moving around is the locations and the cast this can be leveraged to leverage budget back in and reduce the investment asked.
Correct.
So
Correct.
to deliver on the minimum value proposition of what the story cannot do without versus what is aspirational to maybe get a bigger budget later. But if this film needs to be made in the next year to tie into the anniversary, to get the maximum exposure for social media purposes, then we've got to actually get that production schedule wrapped in a budget schedule of what does the minimum look like and what is that gap that you have to plug, and who has that money and how best to attract them.
Absolutely.
I think,
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have to bring this to a close at some point. So that's
George, bring it to a close. Bring it to a close.
I'll bring it to a close.
I know what we're talking about here. What Garvin has given me is a pretty practical advice as an accountant.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. And you need to have a production accountant. You have to have an expert, the tax accountant, and all that, who source the tax money. There are tax houses who are around us who are actually expert, likes of Mazar and likes of all those guys. And,
absolutely,
who have the 481 ready to go in there. It's a revolving money, every year.
It's money. The journey of money.
I think what's really interesting though is that what we're now finding through these conversations, and although I may not be contributing as much, what's very useful is that there is a dialogue that's going on, which is what a lot of filmmakers don't actually don't talk about. And I think what's been really refreshing is to hear your angle of things, Siraj, because you are thinking about the things that we were saying were important to encase within the film budget. And everybody was just talking about the production budget. They weren't thinking about the marketing budget. They weren't thinking about all the other things. And I think what is also important is that we start to look at the stories that we're telling. And we do start off with the Rolls Royce, and quite often we have to come down just to compromise the story. But until you've got it written, you can't actually then start to look to see how you could do things differently. And that
we need a car, George,
part.
Not which car.
Exactly.
If there's no car, we're in trouble.
I know. We need some kind of vehicle in there to do that. So, okay, well, look, what I'm trying to do now is I'm just going to wrap up from what I've just been hearing. We started off with Siraj here, who's the Indian Film Festival of Ireland organizer. He's been very much involved in the film industry since I think about 1984. This has come from another discussion that we've had. I think what was really interesting was to hear the film that you're working on yourself, Siraj, about how you're coming up to the 10th anniversary of this situation with a girl that had died in Ireland, who was from India because of her situation, and how that changed some of the laws that were going on in Ireland at that particular point in time.
Yeah,
and I think that's
it's called Eighth Amendment.
The Eighth Amendment, yeah, and I think that's so in one sense we were looking at where do investors want to work on projects, and also and I mentioned this to Garvin before about the conflict that sometimes happens between the creative and the finance, and it's trying to get that compromise to work so you get a film made. But I did like the conversation that we were having about how you go about potentially selling, and Siraj was talking all the way through here about you are selling the film right from the beginning and trying to get people so that that there is an audience there that will then pay to watch the film you're making even before you get out there shooting, because then at least you've got some way of getting that film seen, which I think is so important. So absolutely. I think at this stage, if we have the last words from yourself, Siraj.
Yeah, thank you for having this stimulating conversation. Just to give you an example of the last one, it's like I did a movie called Halal Daddy, which was a German finance picture. We shot it in Sligo. I had a large role in it. And it stayed on the various platforms, Netflix, Amazon, and all that. Colm Meaney was a lead with other young actors, and I had a fairly big part in it. That picture was about around 2 million euros. And the Germans' finance co-production comes from Germany. And this is another angle, is that now we are taken through part and parcel of Europe. So there is a money in Europe. France, Germany being the prime financier of Irish. They love Ireland. I mean, Germans loved here spending their money. And that is the prime example. Halal Daddy was loosely based on the, on a beef tribunal that happened years ago. And it was backdrop was the actual beef industry in Sligo. A lovely creative picture. I must recommend it if you haven't seen that picture. You'll find it somewhere on the internet. It's called the Halal Daddy. Now, this is the model I'm talking about, is that a small production, not a huge production. When one could make, if the Academy could set up, I can line up the streams of stories. I'm working on a story store at the moment as well, where a story store is storing the stories, a lot of stories, and they can be blown up into a film full scripts, many of them. There's one I'm working on is on drug trial that is also hotbed in India. Lots of pharma companies are using India as a hotbed for trials, and particularly.
Well, that's a great thing, Siraj, you're saying now. The weird thing is we need to get more stories made, but to get them made, we need to get more stories financed. To do that, we need to get a model that makes it at a certain level, that we get that quality content and talent out there. We staff and crew it, get it made, get it financed, get it seen. And that's where we can all go play our game. And there's definitely conversations to have with yourself a little later on about that. And that's exactly the sort of model we're thinking of rolling out.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we've actually come to the end of the show. So I think, unfortunately, Garvin, those will be your last words for this episode. And I do hope that we can get talking to you soon again, Siraj, because I think it's important to carry on these kind of conversations. So thank you again for joining us. And we just say cheerio to everybody, and thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.
All the best.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.